Welcome back to Open Window Politics, going through my latest prediction. In this case, it is going to be a hypothetical matchup between AOC on the Democratic side. She is a congresswoman from New York. And then on the Republican side is going to be J.D. Vance, the current vice president under Donald Trump. And with that, we have the safe, likely, and lean states characterized. The rest of these are most likely going to be tilts. We'll see what actually ends up happening. There might be one or two that could be lean that we can come back to, but this is far from the most. Well, on the Republican side, it's a reasonably likely scenario that Vance is the nominee. On the Democratic side, I do think it would be very, very difficult for AOC to be able to make it through the Democratic primary, but in this hypothetical situation, let's say she does, and ends up running against J.D. Vance. So we are going to characterize all of these swing states we have left. We will start out on the West Coast and then just move eastward. So in the state of Nevada, I do think that that AOC most likely would lose the state of Nevada. Trump was able to win it in 2024, and he did much better among the Hispanic population, and I do think that trend would probably continue, especially if AOC was the nominee. So we're going to go with the prediction as such for that state. I also think she probably wouldn't be able to win the state of Arizona. This one might even be a lean. It was a lean for Trump in 2024, but just in case, well, we'll see what happens. But in this hypothetical matchup, I'm going to go with lean, with tilt. Regardless, it is still 11 electoral college votes for the Republicans. So with that, it gets us to 211 for AOC, to 236 for J.D. Vance. Although I do think that there's going to be a little bit more good news for AOC. I do think that she would probably be able to win the state of Minnesota as well as Wisconsin. And then Michigan is going to be an interesting case. We'll have to see what ends up happening. It probably won't end up happening because it's hypothetical. But I do think that AOC, it's going to be close, but I do think she would win the state of Michigan. And then we're going to go back now to some Republican-leaning states. I do think that Vance would be able to win in North Carolina and Georgia. These are both, Biden was able to win Georgia in 2020, and it does have two Democratic senators, but I do think AOC, since she's quite a bit more progressive, it would alienate a lot of moderate voters that are really crucial to winning in those two states. Well, in all of these swing states, but in general, we're going to go with that prediction. And then I do think that in the state of New Hampshire, it is going to most likely be a Democratic tilt. I think AOC has a really good chance of winning the state. Maybe not really good, but a decent chance of winning the state. It was won by Harris and Biden, so it's got a good chance of remaining in the Democratic column. I do think that the final state, though, that we're going to predict, the state of Pennsylvania, is probably going to be a different case scenario. And then as far as the district in Nebraska goes, I think that this one would probably end up being a tilt Republican. And with but that district doesn't ultimately matter too much. It wouldn't be a tie-breaking vote in this situation. But with that, that's 250 for AOC to 288 for J.D. Vance. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.